Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about some of the recent new releases, including Star Wars Andor, She-Hulk, and plus some other bits and pieces. I'll be giving some early thoughts on Hocus Pocus 2. And yeah, running through some of the news. Though I'll be honest, not a huge amount of news this week. A little bit following D23 and obviously everything going on with the Queen and stuff. There's been a little bit less than normal. But before we go any further, if you haven't already done so, make sure you go check us out over at whatsonatdisneyplus.com. Like, follow, and subscribe on different audio platforms or here on YouTube. You can also support us from as little as $2 a month through our Patreon and YouTube channel members. And well, on that, let's jump into it. So, like I said, a little bit of it's not been a huge amount of news. I think I was expecting this after the D23 Expo, where things might have quieted down a little bit. Obviously, this weekend it is ta-dum, so therefore, so there's going to be lots of Netflix information. So they probably wanted to maybe get out of the way of all of that there going on. So generally, there's not been a huge amount of news. One of the things that was revealed this week was a brand new Disney Plus original series from the UK called Save Our Squad with David Beckham, which is going to be coming on November the 9th. We'll be getting all 4 episodes at once, and it's basically about him creating a football team or helping a football team deal with the relegation. They're kind of coming into it. I'll be honest, I'm not a football fan. I'm not a huge, I tolerated it because I'm English and we kind of have to. So I'm not really, I'll be honest, this show, if it never existed, it wouldn't bother me at all. My only issue is this feels like it's coming straight off Welcome to Wrexham, which I am watching every week and I've watched every episode of, which doesn't make any sense because I don't really care about Wrexham or Welsh football. But for some reason, I think Ryan, there's something about the show that seems to keep pulling me in. So I'm kind of a bit like, well, we're kind of already doing this, but just they're in adult zone and this one's in the kids one. But yeah, it's a bit odd, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but the teaser that they released was only like 20 something seconds, and you really don't get an idea. It could have a lot of personality to it, the same way that Welcome to Wrexham does. And I think that's one of the things is Welcome to Wrexham, although it is about the football club, is also about the impact that the club has on the town and how big of a deal this is for those people, and goes into information about their lives and stuff. We'll talk about that later because we have an episode to talk about in the review section. But right now, we don't know, is Save Our Squad going to be strictly them doing soccer/football drills, or is there going to be an actual story behind it? Is it going to be a sob story and so on? And not even just that, but also like Ted Lasso is dealing with a very similar, although that one's fictional rather than documentary style. So it does feel like there's a lot of shows or documentaries dealings with football clubs and regulation and the league and stuff at the moment. So I agree with you on that. It might have its own voice, but it does kind of feel like we're maybe find a different angle going forward for documentaries.
Yeah, and it's funny because I only recently watched Ted Lasso. I did binge both seasons of Ted Lasso recently, and it actually I enjoyed that show. It turned out all right because when I was flying home, I saw pretty much half the cast of Ted Lasso, and I go, I know them. Right. They're going, I recognize them. Where's that? And then there's somebody else came in, and then somebody else came in, and somebody else came in. I'm like, oh yeah. So we saw like half the cast of Ted Lasso because they just had the Emmys the night before. So I was a bit like, oh, okay. So there's a bit of a difference, but they were even being added into the FIFA video game. That's kind of crazy.
Oh, I didn't see that, but it reminds me of watching like Thor: Love and Thunder and getting to the post-credit sequence, and Hercules shows up. It's like, I know that guy. I know him.
I was the opposite. See, I hadn't watched it at the time.
I remember.
I'm like, who's that? Everyone's cheering. I'm going, I have no idea who he is.
And now you do.
Yes. Now I'm caught up, and now I'm caught up on Ted Lasso. I'm good. But yeah, so Save Our Squad. Yeah, okay. I'm going to go in neutral. I'm neither for nor against it. David Beckham always seems like a nice guy. He likes to queue, so that's always good. And so that's always a good thing. So yeah, willing to give this one a go. We're also got a new series called Welcome to Chippendales. This is not about the Rescue Rangers. This one is a series, is a true crime saga all about the outrageous story of Steve, an Indian immigrant who becomes the unlikely founder of the world's greatest male stripping empire and will let nothing stand in his way. So this one is coming to Hulu on the 22nd of November. It's been confirmed for Australia and also Canada and New Zealand. Don't yet know about the UK. I'm assuming it's going to be the same. The whole thing with the Queen's tragic death kind of derailed the UK press, I think, because basically everything kind of got put on hold, and then they've just been slowly throughout the week just rolling out stuff from D23. So it's a bit of a catch up. But this trailer gives us nothing. But I'm in. I feel like with like Dope Sick and Dropout and all these other shows, I feel like they've got. I'm coming to this one, and let's see what we've got.
Well, and I also saw in the trailer that the creators of Pam and Tommy are involved in this. I don't know what level. It's not directed by them, but they have some sort of influence in it. And that series, of course, was bonkers and fun and absolutely nuts. So yeah, this we'll be checking out. And I also remember, I think might be on Hulu, they released a documentary about this as well. So if you want to, you can either save that for the end and see what the real life was, or you can watch that in advance and kind of know what's coming one way or another.
Yeah, so that one's going to be a fun one. We've also got the trailer for Rosaline, which is coming out on the 14th of October. Hulu in the US, Star Plus in Latin America, and Disney Plus around the world. So this one is like a fresh take on Romeo and Juliet from the point of view from the cousin, because she's trying to pull them apart because she actually wants to be Romeo instead. I thought it looks good. I'm not a huge fan of Shakespeare. I think doing it at high school all the time just put me off doing it because I didn't really understand it. I don't think anybody does. I don't think anybody really understands Shakespeare. And so I'm going in this one like I think there's I can't think of the actress name. Caitlin Denver. I mean, she was great in the Dropout in Dope Sick. So I'm willing to see where this one goes.
Yeah, I took kind of the opposite. I actually thought the concept was really cool when we first read about it. You know, the story of Romeo and Juliet from the eyes of Romeo's girlfriend up to the very beginning of Romeo and Juliet, and she gets name dropped like twice in the play, and then you never hear from her again. But the trailer itself, I was like, I don't really like the angle they take with it, where she's actively meddling in it, and you know, it seems like she's going to have an influence on the story that's just not in the play, which I don't actually have a problem with. I think it's kind of a boring take on it, but we'll see what the thing does. But then also, I don't know, there was an attitude to the trailer that I was just like, I'm not getting into this.
Kind of a modern-y like twist. It had a little bit of a modern side to it.
It's not even that, like, because we've seen Romeo and Juliet in Shakespearean English, we've seen it in modern English. You saw that one with DiCaprio and Claire Danes back in the 90s, which was just like hyperactive, drug.
I only lasted 10 minutes into that.
I watched the whole thing as a teenager, but that if you're worried about it being modern, I mean, like that's very, even though they're using Shakespearean English, it's a very modern take on it. No, I don't know. It's kind of the more like, they have the scene where Juliet's about to take the sleeping potion, and I don't know. The commentary that Rosaline was giving it was just kind of like, I'm not clicking with this.
Yeah.
It's not that it's bad. It's just it's not working for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. This out of the 4 20th century movies that we were getting this year as Hulu Star Originals, this was the one I was least excited for at the 4. We had Prey, we've had The Princess, and then also we had No Exit. So we've had some good movies and stuff, but this one was the one I was least excited for at the 4 that they announced last year. But it's kind of an odd one. This is where it's kind of like 20th century is a little bit funny of like, what are they doing at the minute? It just seems to be, it's very generic. It's I don't know. It's a very odd one.
It is an odd one. Although it does to a certain extent feel like it's in the same line as that action movie we had, The Princess, a couple of months ago. It's got that same kind of feeling to it, although this is not an action movie. It would have been better with it. I mean, honestly, get Romeo and Juliet and really hype up the fights between the Montagues and the Capulets. I'd watch that. But I will say one positive thing to it is that even if the movie itself ends up being mediocre or not, or great or bad, if it gets more people recognizing that the Romeo and Juliet story is not something to aspire to,
Yeah.
I will go for that because that is one of those most misunderstood romance stories of all time. It's up there with like Harley and the Joker, where people are like, "Oh, it's such a great romance." Like, thank you for telling me that because that means I'm not taking romantic advice from you ever.
No.
So
Yeah, it's kind of weird because so yeah, give it a go. I'm kind of going into it lukewarm. I think the trouble is for me as well. I feel like, especially like this winter, Searchlight Pictures is putting out so many more interesting movies at the cinema. We're getting, we've just had to see how they run. We're going to be getting the Banshees of Inisherin. I think that's how, I'm not quite sure how you pronounce that one. We've got Empire of the Light, and we've also got The Menu. So like Searchlight is like blasting this winter with some great movies, and yeah, it kind of feels like the Big Brother 20th Century is not quite hitting the same level because it's like they've just got these big blue things running around that they're focused on right now.
it might have also just been a combination of COVID. Obviously, that's having a big impact on what people were able to make, and kind of that uncertainty for a while for was Disney going to buy it out and so forth. Because remember, movies that are coming out now would have been in development when that was happening, so there was probably a lot of uncertainty there.
And also the HBO deal, I think, has had an impact as well.
Absolutely, there's a lot of factors involved with it. We'll probably see 20th Century, the former Fox studio, kind of ramping up again in the near future, though.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm hoping that next year we can't start seeing maybe some of these like Searchlight and stuff start hitting Disney Plus in the US. I'm hoping that we eventually get. I know we've been saying it the whole of 2022, and I now feel like no, just right. We might as well just write this year off because it doesn't feel like it's happening this year. And maybe next year we will start seeing a little bit more movement on these movies. Because personally, for me, I'll be honest, I think the Searchlight in the 20th Century stuff is a little bit more interesting at the minute. I feel like they're putting out some interesting movies and stuff. That the Disney side has got a little bit generic, got a bit safe. They've not really and I feel like it's been quite nice having these refreshing ones with 20th Century and Searchlight.
If they didn't have Star Wars and Marvel, Disney would definitely be in trouble in terms of content. That's not to say that they haven't put out good content on the Disney side. I mean, obviously, we're really looking forward to like Mysterious Benedict Society season 2 and things like that. But no, in terms of hype and what people are talking about and what's getting on the Nielsen charts, it's Marvel and Star Wars.
Yeah. The Disney side is kind of weird because I think the movie's point of view that they've been so heavily reliant on these remakes that it's a little bit like, okay, but we've seen all this before. There's not really anything like fresh and new kind of to look forward to. Because I was thinking earlier with like the presentation that they did at D23, I'm like, okay, let's take out Disenchanted because that's Disney Plus. Okay, so we got Haunted Mansion, which they've pushed back to the August now. I'm like Lion King 2, Little Mermaid, and I'm there going, not really like.
Is there Lion King 2 and Scar, or are those two?
Yeah, it's kind of like a prequel, right, kind of.
Yeah,
and that's not coming out till 2024. But yeah, I was just a bit like, yeah, Disney, the Disney bit with the thing needs to kind of sort out its live action a little bit because it's got a little bit sort of stagnant for a bit.
I guess it would. I already know the answer to this, but the other distinction would be, what do you consider Avatar to be? Because we've got the upcoming re-release and then Avatar 2. Is that 20th Century or is that Disney? Disney's doing a lot to make us feel like it's a Disney brand. I mean, obviously they've got the Animal Kingdom, they've got the whole section of Pandora over there, but no, it is a 20th Century.
Yeah, I'm just hoping really that as we move forward, that they're going to start like using that brand a little bit more better, because it's been a bit wishy-washy of what they've been doing with it up till now, kind of leaning in on it, not leaning in on it. But yeah, so I'm hoping in 2023 we kind of, maybe when Avatar, because it's like Avatar is doing quite well in terms of box office this weekend. It's pulled in a few million. I've just been seeing loads and loads of articles about James Cameron talking about what they've done for this movie, of different prints for different size cinemas, for different doing up the frame rate, making it better, and it's kind of reading it, just going, yeah, it's like you're really like, it was, I don't know, it was a little bit like there was a little bit of snobbery going on about cinema because I think Avatar 2 is going to take a lot longer to get to Disney Plus than any of the other films that we've recently seen, because I feel like he's going to push for it just to. Yeah, it will make $3 billion. I'm just going to leave it in the cinema indefinitely until it does. Just like it will beat the other movie, and I will make sure it does, and I will re-release it 1,000 times.
I mean, it might. It is one of those things that where you have to recognize that people like Cameron or Spielberg or whatever, they're in Hollywood for a reason. They have a love for the cinema, and that does tend to translate into cinema is where movies are. Yeah, you can watch it at home. Yes, the technology has gotten better, but the cinema is where to watch a movie. And obviously, we've talked about it many times before, and we will talk about many times again. But it's like, the cinema experience is overall better. Like I will talk about, there are movies that are better in cinema, but the gap between like cinema and home entertainment is not nearly as big as it used to be.
I also feel like he's going to the cinema in probably in one of the finest cinemas, probably in Los Angeles, or as a homemade one where it's like the best screen with the best projector with the nicest comfortable seats, where everyone is too quiet to make, everyone's too scared to make any noise. If he goes to my local Plex on a Thursday night, he might feel a little bit different about going to the cinema.
There's a little bit of a difference between like El Capitan and like your local AMC that hasn't been updated in 25 years and the maintenance isn't quite where it should be.
Yes, I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I definitely felt like watching a little bit of a clip of, because we saw a few clips and stuff of Avatar 2 at the D23, and it does look stunning. It did. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't think I've ever seen the underwater scene, and I think some of the people have told me that there's in the Avatar re-release in the cinema. It looks amazing, and it does look spectacular. But there again, it's just wearing, for me, wearing two pairs of glasses, it's just not. I mean, I saw a friend of mine. He went to see Avatar, and I think in Canada they still got to wear face masks. So he's got this two set. He's got like goggles on, mask on. I'm going, that doesn't look the most comfortable way to watch a movie. It's just
when I see Avatar 2, I will absolutely be seeing a 2D presentation of it. Yeah. I have zero interest in seeing it in 3D. Absolutely none.
That's my plan as well. Right, so like I said, there's not been a huge amount of news. There's been little bits and pieces, but primarily it's been a little bit quiet, obviously, with that. But we've actually got a lot of stuff to talk about that's been out the last week, and sometimes even a few things a little bit before that, with some Disney Plus Day stuff. So let's get into. So before we get into the reviews, just do a quick shout out to some of our patrons and YouTube channel members. So a big thank you to Babak, Paul, Daniel, Elliot, Aero, Khalid, Red Marsman, Cody, Chris, Jacob, Darren, The Juice. We've also got Lauren, Sarah, and Andrew, and Giuseppe. We've also got Tim, Chuck, David, Mahmoud, Raphael, Adam, Dana, Ricky, Dave, My VCR Still Works, Bina, Joshua, Dawn, Martin, and Sarah. Thank you so much for your continued support. And that all helps towards keeping all the lights on, keeping things moving, server costs, hosting fees, electricity and stuff. It all helps. Every little bit helps. Also, just a quick note before we get into reviews, a little bit of housekeeping. So next week there will be a podcast with me and Mo. We're going to be talking about kind of the state of streaming. We're having a little bit of a general discussion about streaming, because we're both going to be on vacation next week, kind of flipping across continents. And then we'll be back as per usual the week after. During this week, though, you will have some extra sneak peeks, because me and James did get together and we actually recorded a number of sort of mini little podcast episodes where we talk about our favorite Marvel movies, our favorite Pixar movies, and they'll be going out throughout the week. And there's also going to be an interview with Melanie Brooke from Under Wraps 2 going up on Monday. So there's plenty of content next week. I've also done a Q&A in advance as well. All the patrons and YouTube channel members have submitted questions. So that's all ready to go for the next 2 Sundays. So there's going to be plenty of content on the channel while we have a little bit of a break. Obviously, the website will still be updated. I can't have a full vacation. I'm still going to be doing a few hours of work a day. So I can't just not do it. But so there will be stuff going up. But I'll just mention there will be content going up on the YouTube channel throughout the week. Right. Let's jump into some of the stuff. So let's start off with Andor. What did you think of Andor?
I Love this. I was very impressed by Andor. We saw the first 3 episodes, which basically covers the first story arc. Uh, the whole feel of the show is completely different from pretty much. This is almost closer to like Blade Runner than it
Yeah,
was
I've
to
seen that. I've
Star
seen that
Wars.
mentioned a few times.
I think it's the neon lighting, honestly, because it's very heavy in the first part of it, and then also the sound is a bit more subdued. The one thing that it's not is the soundtrack. The soundtrack is actually, I felt a little disconnected from that at times. The music they were using, but other than that, it just has a great feel to it.
Yeah, see, I watched it last week. I need to rewatch it. I wanna rewatch them again in a couple of weeks' time when I get back. Just because I want to watch it in 4K. I want to watch it without my. If you've ever, no one, you probably, if you don't, if you've never seen a screen, yeah, with a screener, your name can be written across the screen. It's so big, and sometimes it can be a little bit distracting. So I want to watch it again. I did sit down to watch it, but then something else came in and I watched something else instead. But I am looking forward to watching this one again. I thought it was just such a, like you say, it's a gritty, it's grounded. Not just with the story, there's just, it feels like, they're all being like downtrodden by the system, and I wouldn't even say by the empire. It's just by the system that feeds the empire. And you've got that worm of a guy that's like, he's such a good person that's going to go into the empire because he's sneaky and wants to cross the dots and and it's just like he just wanted him to get killed, basically. He's a real slimy little bugger.
Which is interesting because if you actually look at the character objectively, it's like there's nothing wrong. He's investigating a murder.
Yeah.
That's he should investigate a murder. He's a cop. That's what he's supposed to do, right? But yeah, the attitude, the way he's doing it, that smug superiority,
he's empire through and through.
He'll be empire for sure.
Yeah.
But that is the other interesting part of it. Like you mentioned, the empire is not here, not yet. There's some aesthetic designs that are reminiscent of it, but there's no stormtroopers. There's no, haughty imperial admiral with their hands behind their back giving out orders. Not yet. That is definitely coming.
It very much felt along the lines of like the company. It was like, we're just trying to keep them away. We don't want them here. We want a little bit more flexibility. We don't want them here, but we're kind of mining for them. You could there's elements of them being there, but they don't. They just they're working for them. And I just felt like everyone having a job, everyone having to kind of get by, very grounded in reality. And it was kind of nice. You don't really see that in Star Wars. It was the oppression was there, and what they all have to go through. And I mean, we saw obviously with what happened with Andor's family, from the Empire's point of view. But even that seemed very again, it's just a weird way of like showing it. I love he's got such a relationship with that droid already, hasn't he? It's just like, that's basically like his best friend.
I actually think this might be one of my favorite droids in Star Wars so far, but we're only 3 episodes in, so we'll see.
It's just like that kind of thing of like the droid's so like down when it's like, oh, can I not come? Just like a dog when they look at you like, can I come?
But they also handle the whole thing about the droid is old and run down and worn out, and you very rarely see like, because you see R2 going everywhere and C-3PO going everywhere, and this droid's like, I can't really make the trek because I don't have enough power to get from here to here and need to recharge. And again, these are not like the superheroes of the Star Wars universe. These are the downtrodden, the just living day to day, hoping that they have food on their table kind of thing. And it really does come across well.
Yeah, and also, I mean, the fact of just like setting up the idea of like, just basically just recruiting him. He's at a point where he has to leave his home because of what's happened, and it's not for nothing to do with really the rebellion. It's nothing really about, he needs to leave, and it's just, and I think that's what's caught everyone off guard. I think everyone was just like, this is different. This especially feels very different to the previous 3 Disney Plus series.
Yeah, this not even any of the movies, like even Rogue One, which obviously this is a prequel to, it does not feel like Rogue One. Even there, the characters, they're part of a rebellion, but they have the resources they need. There's never any question of we can't do this because we don't have enough grenades, or our power pack is going to run out, or man, this ship is truly a piece of junk. I mean, we always joke about the Falcon being, a trash heap, but like, no, this might not start up kind of thing. And yeah, it's got that feeling of being down to earth. The fight, despite being sci-fi, you could definitely make this as a show on Earth in some, little, you could put it in Wrexham. They're talking about how downtrodden Wrexham is, and the only difference being instead of they've got blasters and they've got laser things going on, but otherwise, it's a small town that's seen better days.
I think just in general, there's been a real good like feel of Andor, of just a lot of people, the social media response and stuff. It's a lot of it is like, oh, this is different, this is good. Let's see where this goes, and almost putting a little bit of faith back into like, oh, okay, this is different. I feel like I think Kenobi didn't. It was too twisted on the nostalgia element, whereas this doesn't feel. There didn't feel to be nostalgia in this, did there? You didn't really feel that way.
If anything, this kind of feels more like the Ewok movies, which is kind of an odd. Not in terms of quality. Let's be clear about that. But in terms of the story it's taking, it's very low level. It is not a galactic level event, at least at this point. It's about just trying to survive, which is honestly, if we're looking at the Star Wars canon, Ewoks are the only other movie that kind of take that angle.
Yeah, it feels just like you say, it feels a lot more disconnected, and I feel like in some ways it's what a lot of people have been asking for. They want to get away from the Skywalkers. They want to get away from and explore something new. And this kind of it's a little bit difficult in some way because this is a prequel of a prequel. And but I feel like there's a lot of excitement and buzz about this from everyone, just like, this is different. Let's get, and I feel like dropping 3 episodes really helped allow everyone get their teeth into it, and like you can get a gist of what this is with 3 episodes now. It's and also with it being a 12 episode season, we've still got 9 weeks of new episodes to come, but everyone's been able to get into it.
Yeah, we see what the show is. You've got the impression of what to expect going forward. And the story, even though you could call episode 3 a conclusion of that first arc, you can see that the hooks are in there for the next story. So it's not a completely disconnected second.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have seen next week's episode. So it is definitely like, it is a continuation because it carries on from where they left. But it just moves into a different story. And that's what we're going to see every 3 episodes. It's kind of a bit more of there's a story here, which, I mean, you think of 3 episodes is about an hour and a half to 2 hours, which is on time with a movie, which I think is good. And I feel like they obviously it's just nice having something fresh, something a little bit original. I'm definitely looking forward to watching new episodes of this one. Yeah, and we've got this one for a couple of months, so Andor's going to be around for a while.
That, and at some point we will get season 2. Now, don't expect it imminently. Don't expect it next year. Expect it.
Well, they've literally said that filming starts in November. They're just doing a bit of prep work now. A lot of it's filmed over here in the UK on live sets. They are not finishing filming until August of next year, and therefore we're going to need then a year of special effects and editing. So do not expect it for. I mean, yeah, it's a long way off. But I think there's that. I think that helps because I think it brings in people going, oh, 24 episodes. Now, you could look at it, if that's 6 episode seasons like Obi-Wan Kenobi, that's 4 seasons. Mando, maybe 3 and a bit. We're getting a big chunk of this show. So I feel like people are, I can put some faith into this because we know we're going to get, and all 24 episodes are going to be one complete thing. Once it ends, it goes straight into Rogue One. So we know that there's going to be an ending to this, which is, it's nice. I think it's just with a little bit of confidence in this one.
Yeah, and this will end up being where you can watch all 24 episodes, then you can watch Rogue One, and then you can watch A New Hope, and it is one giant saga. And we'll see if they ever include any of the other Rogue One characters in the. I know a lot of people have been asking for Donnie Yen's character, but honestly, I'd kind of like to see. Well, I mean, there's.
Well, no, it's not so much that. It's I mean, I can add K2SO, but I can't really add him because they met him on.
Well, no, they can tell his story without it intertwining. I'm not saying cameos for season 2. I'm talking about his character getting a series just like this, telling how he got this way. The one that I would actually like to see is the Imperial pilot, the defector. He flies the show, because he seems like he's got a very interesting story in there.
See, for me, I'm at that point now where I'm like, can we just like? I think I'm much more interested in like Skeleton Crew because of it being fresh. I want to see something happening post episode 9. I want to move into an area where let's let the story go where it wants to, and we're no longer confined by this block of what's happened. So that's where that's the one issue of Andor of like, well, we know where it's got to go, we know what's going to happen, but it should be a lot of fun getting there.
And I'll make one last comment. One thing I want to praise it for is this is one of the only series of Star Wars shows that we've had where it actually takes a little bit of time to show the consequences of the fights and the deaths. A lot of times in Star Wars, it's the hero's journey. Luke and Leia and all of them, they mow down stormtroopers and TIE pilots by the hundreds, and they never stop to think about it. And Poe and Finn, Finn changes allegiance, and he never has a moment of like, man, the people I'm shooting were my friends just a day ago. This show actually has several moments where it lingers on, this person's dead, and that's really a big deal, even if it's only a big deal to these particular characters.
It's just very grounded and gritty, and I just like it. It just feels nice and fresh to have something a little bit different. Right, let's now shift gears now and go a little bit green. So we had Wedding Season drop onto Disney Plus this week. On Thursday, we had She-Hulk Goes to a Wedding. And this was an episode.
It was an episode, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a bit of an odd one with this one. It is lighthearted. It is fun. I enjoyed it, but it was a little bit like, had I never seen this and I never saw it again, does it really matter? And it's like, no, it doesn't. It's like it's okay, but like, I mean, I know they obviously played a little bit on the fact of, it's a bit of an inconvenience and stuff, and I can see where they're going with this one, and it is lighthearted and it is fun. But this was this definitely felt like it was the episode online where the audience was like, whoa, time out, where is this happening? And they were like, this like lighthearted. I think everyone got a little bit too excited about Daredevil like being in this episode, which I'm guessing he's next week or the week after. I don't know. I am enjoying it. It's not like I'm sitting here and I hate this show. I do not hate it. I'm enjoying it. I can't wait to watch the new episode on Thursday. I am looking forward to it. Actually, I'm just trying to think. I'm hoping I can connect my tablet or phone up to a television, because I don't want to watch it. If I can't do that, then I'm going to wait till I get home, because I want to watch Daredevil in its full glory. But it's like, I'm just a bit like, just like, I don't know, I even say like frustrated with it. Just like, I know what you're doing, guys, but I'm not sure if this is going to work.
This particular episode was definitely not one of the better ones. I still, like I said, I still enjoyed it. I still had fun with it, still smiled through it, but it felt, not even the disconnected aspect, it didn't feel like it had the same level of writing as the other ones do. It felt weaker. It felt like it was relying more on tropes than on actual the characters driving the humor. And it was really just, we're gonna have Titania show up and continue that story, which nobody actually really cares about. As far as I was concerned, it was done in the previous one with the secret shopper and all that thing.
It just seemed a little bit like this cat. I feel like with her as a villain, she's just like, she's not. There's no stakes involved. She's just like, or she's just a super powered, like, just horrible person. There's there's like, where's like, she's not trying to. I'm completely happy with them not doing end of the world stuff. I'm quite happy with that. But it would have been much more along the lines if she just turned up at the wedding to ruin it because she wanted to fight, rather than kind of like get in the. I don't know. It's a bit of an odd one. It's not. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't love it, and it's just like it's a bit of an odd one.
I think the core of the problem is that there's very little reason for She-Hulk to be at this wedding. They like, it's my old high school or college, I can't remember which, friend, and she's asked me to be a bridesmaid. It's like, even you're saying you haven't talked to this woman in like 10 years. Why? Yeah. And then she gets treated like garbage there. They're like, iron the groom's shirts. And it's like, why are you putting up with this? And then Titania's there, and you're like, why is Titania here? Why are they doing this? And it just feels like, why is Jen here? Why is she
Yeah.
putting up with this at all? She has no reason to be there. I mean,
Mm.
if I showed up and the person who tried to steal my identity and make a cosmetics line, I'd
Yeah.
just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna turn around and go. This is not worth it. I don't
Yeah.
even know you people that well.
Yeah, it just seemed a bit odd. I mean, the whole thing, like with, I mean, I think she was marrying the dog.
She was the groom, or the groomsman that she was going to walk down the aisle with, like the bridesmaid and the groomsmen
Yeah.
walk down together, was the dog, not even a real person. It's just like, why again? Why are you putting up with this? There's no reason for you to be
Because
putting
it's
up.
kind of odd, because I really enjoyed the whole aspect with the Mr. Immortal. I thought that would have
That
been
was
better
fun.
had Jen been representing him. Because I know it carried on those extra two other characters. It's like we didn't need to happen. That could have happened with Jen
Well,
as the superhero or as the lawyer. I don't know. It just felt a little bit like, okay, where are you going with this? And I mean, I like the whole aspect of this thing of this, there's this whole website and stuff trying to take her down, and because it's kind of reading some of this episode took that to the next level in terms of some of the stuff I've seen online this week of just like it's almost that kind of weird thing. You're leaning in on what they're doing. They are taking the mick out of you because they know they were going to get this response, and it's happening, and it's an odd one. I mean, I'm enjoying the show, but I don't know whether or not, because we grew up on the Incredible Hulk TV series that was dreadful, and if you ever got more than like 30 seconds of the Hulk at the end of it, that was a good episode, and the credits were the best bit. We're used to being stretched out, but I feel like this, I would be honest, I feel like the new generation of kids and viewers are not used to this, like being forced to wait for stuff the same way. And a lot of people wanting like cameos and thing. And it's like, I don't know, it's just a very strange little series. I'm glad they're doing it. I'll be honest. I'm enjoying that it's a bit different. I like the fact that it is a little bit lighthearted, and I am enjoying the series as a whole. And I can kind of get what they're trying to do, and I like that. But I don't know this is that worrying thing of Marvel overcooking. This is where it's like it's getting weaker, and this is a show that's making it look a little bit weaker.
Yeah, I would restrict it mostly to this specific episode. Otherwise, I've been really in on the episodes so far. They've had a fun tone to them. They've had some interesting developments, not always going in the direction you want. Yes, it does rely on tropes every once in a while, or characters kind of just are stereotypes. I'm thinking primarily of the fashion designer from last week, which was
that was just too much.
it was a little much. But this particular episode, I'm like, the last 2 minutes are important because they're obviously setting up the next major issue, which is, of course, we'll probably see the Wrecking Crew come back, and they will have this drill or something that can dig into her arm.
Yeah, I'm thinking this might be the leader or the start of whatever's going to happen in New World Order. I mean, I think it would have been better if it is the leader, that they didn't tell us at D23, but they had to tell us something. But they're setting up some kind of Hulk subplot. We're going to need some, and I mean, they could introduce another villain or something like that, but it kind of, with where they're planning on going with New World Order, they're going to need to introduce him at some. I don't know. They might even just freak us out, but I don't know. It's a little bit like, okay, let's see where this one goes. So I'm happy with something fresh and original. I'm enjoying that aspect. I felt the same thing with Miss Marvel. Yes, I would have done little things different. I don't necessarily. It kind of feels the same way of the middle of Miss Marvel. We didn't need it. This feels like one of those stories where we just didn't need it.
Yeah, though I would say that the middle of Miss Marvel was more egregious than this one was. This is just a misfire. This isn't like we're going off and suddenly doing a completely different story with characters that are going to disappear after this this little segment takes place. This story just you didn't quite execute it on the way you needed to.
Like I said, I enjoyed it. It's fine. It's not the best, but it's okay. It's probably, but I don't like using the word "it's okay" with the MCU. It feels a little bit like I wanted a bit more of this. This slid into like Arrowverse.
It has, although we have said at least one episode of every single Marvel show so far. It's okay. This is a
Yeah.
misfire. It's a misstep. It doesn't quite going on. So which makes me think that there might be a bit of like an artificial problem here where they're like, we need 6 episodes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We need 9 episodes of WandaVision, and kind of going, did you need 9 episodes of WandaVision? Could you have cut out like this or merged some storylines and not put the fluff into it and had a tighter story? Miss Marvel is the biggest example. We were just talking about that middle story. It's just like, if you cut that middle story out, this is actually a very, very good series, but you still have the middle section, and it feels like it's only in there because you wanted to have a certain number of episodes rather than because the story wanted you to do this.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird to see how this one goes, but I'm looking for it. I'm in on this show. I'm enjoying it. It's a breath of fresh air. It's a bit lighthearted, and that's good. But they've got to get that line right of how they do it. Let's talk about some other new things. So we got a new series drop on Monday on Disney Plus around the world and on Hulu called Best in Dough, which was a reality TV series all about a pizza competition. Where they in the first episode I only watched the first episode and they dropped 3 episodes. I'm not entirely sure at the minute what the release schedule is going to be on Hulu. There's like 3 episodes a week for like 3 weeks, but on the Disney Plus website it's saying new episodes weekly. So I don't know if they're going to stretch that a little bit and stretch out that dough a little, or if they're going to follow the US one. Nevertheless, I watched 1 episode. Light-hearted reality TV kind of competition, nothing serious here. They had 3 grandmas making pizza products, completely leaning in on the Italian stereotype, and it was fun. What it is, I'm still surprised we've not got more of this. This kind of feels more in the discovery zone of television. It's like, yeah, I think we need a little bit more of this on Disney Plus, a little bit more light-hearted, easygoing things that you can put on while you're maybe doing something else.
Well, again, COVID probably screwed with this because for the last several years, you can't have large groups of people, and these shows, Dancing with the Stars and British Bake Off and stuff like that, are, your competition can't be between 2 people standing 20 feet apart.
Well, you say Dancing with the Stars, they've had a massive outbreak. I need to write that article up. They've got a load of crew gone into isolation. They're having a major problem because they kind of, by the sounds of it, got a little bit lax and something happened. But I mean, yeah. So Best in Dough was definitely a show, wasn't it?
It was definitely a show. It's like you said, it's lighthearted. This isn't really my thing. These cooking shows, at best, they make me hungry. At worst, I just kind of tune them out completely.
The only thing is I was going to say, the only thing I did like about this was it makes it, when you look at stuff like the Disney Plus versions that they try to do, of like, you could just do a normal one like this and it works fine because this is fine for the entire family together. You didn't need to skew it towards kids.
I think, well, the problem with the Disney Plus ones, I think, was more that they tried to make 10 minutes of content into 30 or 40 minutes, and there was just tons of like, we're going to go a deep dive into this person's background and why they happen to love Mickey cupcakes, and it's just like, can you just show the products? Can you show them making the products, please? That's what I'm here to watch for. And this is much better about that. Sure, we get a little bit of information about each contestant, but the focus really is on, these are the ingredients they're using. This is the technique they're using. Here's the final product. Here's what our thoughts on the final product are. And I'm just like, yeah, perfect. You stuck to what you needed to stick to.
Yeah. So no, it's fine. I mean, I think we need more of this. I know some people will be like, no, but I think the reality, unscripted kind of content is kind of what we're going to see more of arriving on Disney Plus around, especially once they sort out what they're doing with the US. And I think Best in Dough is a good example of a solid. This could have been on Discovery or channel or BBC or something like that, and it would have been perfectly acceptable. I mean, I like watching. I watch things like Gordon Ramsay cookery shogoing and Master Chef. So this is kind of just like, this just felt quite natural. It just felt like a decent show. So I was quite happy with it. I'm going to probably carry on and I'll probably pop this one on while I'm like working in the background because it's kind of nice, easygoing TV.
It's easy going to. I already love pizza. I don't need a reminder of why I should eat
Yes.
more pizza. So I probably won't continue on with it, but I would not say that that's a
Mm.
commentary on the quality or whether or not people. If you like cooking shows, this is a good cooking
Yeah.
show. That's pretty much what it
Yeah.
boils down to.
Speaking of unscripted reality, obviously this past week we had Dancing with the Stars. So we had the very first episode drop on Monday. Did you happen to watch that one?
I watched the first one. Admittedly, I was watching it more from a technical perspective.
Yeah.
Is the streaming going to work properly? Will there be buffering? Will it be a watchable experience? And I would say, for the most part, it was. I had stuttering a couple of times, once during one of the performances, and once during the little segment between where the ad break would normally be, but Alonso and them are talking. Not a problem during that because they're just talking. I don't care about stuttering, but it is a big deal when you're in the middle of the dance performance and it freezes or it stutters or the bit rate drops. So now you're watching in 320 instead of 1080, and it'll get better. It could have been on my side, but we did see reports online of other people encountering.
Yeah, there was a lot of people reporting very similar things of like some technical issues and stuff. A lot of people preferring the format because it's been shifted from the ad version. Now, ironically, now the US version now just matches what the British version was, because we'd obviously ours airs on the BBC, so we don't have ads. So whenever there was a, they would go off and do a VT, and then they would go upstairs and talk to the people that left. Well, that was kind of how they did it while they cleaned the floor ready for the next act. So the changes, to be honest, just brought it more in line with the UK version. Now, I haven't watched the episode. Prime reason is Strictly Come Dancing's back tonight in the UK, and I only know 2 people from the entire show on the US, so therefore it's a little bit like I don't know who any of you are. I only know like a couple of the dancers. It's a bit like I'm not watching 2 dancing shows a week because I don't mind one, but I can't do 2 because it's just like I don't have spending 5 hours a week watching dancing shows. I like it, but maybe not that much.
That's more than I like it to begin with. To be fair, I knew going into this. I've seen Dancing with the Stars before. My parents love Dancing with the Stars. So if I'm visiting them and it's on, it's normally on. So I'm familiar with the show. I knew going into it.
Yeah,
this isn't my thing. I don't enjoy the Dancing with the Stars. I also don't enjoy like American Idol or The Voice or America's Got Talent or any. It's just not a format that clicks with me. So that's why I said I went into this with a technical mindset. Did it work? Did it not? Yeah. I'm not going to comment on it. I think if you like Dancing with the Stars or So You Think You Can Dance or things like it's more of that. And I don't think any people are going to complain about that.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not something I'm going to be following. I'm going to be following like what's going on with the show and stuff, but I can't watch it as easily, and it's a bad time for me and all the rest of it. So, and there's no point watching 2 different shows. So that's that one. Now, what I did want to bring up was something because I was really looking into like the social reaction to this episode, because I was really interested to see where the problems were. People were reporting some technical issues. Sometimes I think some of them are between, we used to say, like here, it's between the chair and the keyboard.
Yes,
that's where the problem sometimes goes. Or in this case, between the television and the remote control. There's a problem in between of sometimes not being able to work it out. Also, some of it as well, if you've just got really low internet, you might find that you can do stuff regularly, but watching live takes up much more bandwidth than watching. So there's that issue. But the big issue, I'm talking hundreds of comments of fans of the show that have got cable that are not happy with this show shifting to Disney Plus. They are not happy. They do not want to pay extra, in their view, pay extra for an app that they don't watch. They don't know how to watch it. Their parents or the older viewers don't know how to use it, don't want to use it, maybe don't even have the internet, and they're just like, why are they doing this? Now, personally, it's like Disney spent a huge amount of money on Monday Night Football rights and have put football on ABC. And if Disney Plus didn't pick it up, I think this show probably could have gone. I actually honestly think this show might have ended up being canned in favor of football, but they've decided to give it like essentially a relaunch and a chance to kind of see if they can find a new audience. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's good that they've done it. But there is a lot of people that are annoyed that they're not airing on ABC. Now, I think Disney should I think they should do a replay. I think they should do that. I know it's not maybe popular, but I think they have to be careful of not alienating viewers. No point pissing them all off your existing customers. I think they should do a replay on traditional ABC so everyone can watch. I goes, by rights, I should be the exact opposite of saying get it all on Disney Plus. Like, no, I actually disagree with this one. I think they should, if they can't do it live, at least put an airing on the next day or something like that later in the evening so people can record it. I mean, because people are like going, is it live? Can I watch it again? How can? And there's like issues of streaming that we've not seen as much because this has taken an established show and moving it rather than if this was called, I don't know, Four Ghosts Dancing and it was a brand new show, you're getting a new audience. But this is taking an audience that's been established for 15, 20 years and trying to move them over hard. It's a very weird one.
I might watch a dancing show if it features the Hatbox Ghost from Haunted Mansion, to be honest. But yeah, I actually agree with you on this one too. And I know people will be like, well, you're the What's on Disney Plus guys. You should be like all in on like, no, this was not the show to be doing with it. I think we commented that at the time when it was announced as well. It's like the audience for this skews older and less technologically adept. This was a show that, the whole point of it is watching it live. And that's kind of better on TV than on streaming at the moment. You need to make the jump. You need to start getting the technology to where you want it to be. But this may not have been the one to do it with.
Well, I know if I was to take my parents and my in-laws and stuff, if this had happened over here with BBC and they would put it on the iPlayer, now I know my mum probably would have worked it out, or she would know how to use it because she uses the apps. My other members of the family, not sure. I'm not sure they would have been able to sorted this one out. It's just a shame. I just felt a little bit like there's a lot of negativity, not about the show, but about, there's other issues of like a lot of people are not happy with Tara as a host, and I've not watched it. I've never seen it before, so I'm not going to comment on that. But there was a lot of comment of people not wanting Disney Plus. What is Disney Plus? I don't want to have to pay extra for it. I think there's a lot of people that have got cable that are really getting annoyed at the lack of content because it's almost like, have you watched this? No. Have you watched this? No. Have you watched this? No. Have you watched? There's like, what's actually going on to cable at the minute? It's right. Very, and if you're paying for it, no wonder people are speeding up because they're going, well, you're not putting anything on there. Yeah. And this is that continued, and I feel like people should be, if you're paying monthly for it, should have been simulcast it, Drew. Do it that way. It's just a shame. And it's a shame that the show's getting negativity on stuff that I don't think it should have, because I feel like it's a bad choice of what they've done.
And also, I think a lot of people don't understand kind of the cause and effect nature of this. It's not that shows are shifting over to Disney Plus because Disney wants to get rid of traditional media. It's that viewers are shifting to streaming services, Netflix, Disney Plus, and so on. And so obviously they're going to put the content where the viewers are trying to go, which means if you want to stay on traditional media, though, you feel like you're getting left behind. And the instinct is to blame Disney or blame Paramount or WB or any of these things, but they're just following where the money goes. Because remember, they're companies. They're going to do what gets them the most money. Yeah. And right now for them, that's going on streaming services. And also, like you mentioned, with shows like this, with Dancing with the Stars, Disney probably moved it over here as an effort to save it. This is not, we took a show from ABC that was going to be on ABC and will continue to be on ABC for years and years and years, but like the numbers aren't there. We're coming out of COVID. We don't have the confidence that it's going there. So this is our effort to save it, whereas people are going, no, you're using this as the go over to Disney. It's like it's on Disney Plus or it's nowhere. Take it or leave it. Yeah,
I still feel like at the minute we're at this weird point where we need to be, the companies need to be like trying to keep them both happy. There's a number of shows that they're putting out that I feel like they could put out on mainstream media, but nevertheless, we've got a few quick other ones that we want to get through. Another brand new series dropped this week. We've got the first episode of The Kardashians season 2. Fresh new episode this week. I know you enjoyed this one, did you, this week?
I I didn't even know it came out until you put it on the review list. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
so
let's
yeah,
click on.
we got new episodes coming for the next 10 weeks. Me and my wife watched the first episode on Thursday night. This kind of continues on pretty much from where the last season left off. And at the minute, the focus of this episode was primarily about Chloe's relationship with her ex. He's basically been cheating on her, and they're going to have a kid together. And it's very full of drama, because as it is. There was a kind of weird thing at one point. Chris was like, "Oh, we're gonna go this apartment I've got in downtown Beverly Hills. I forgot I had this one, and you're like, you just forgot you had a flat in Beverly Hills. It's just like, I should come here more often. I forgot I had this one." And even she made a joke about the fact of like, this is hardly normal television.
Yeah, it's a peek into the lives of the rich.
Yes,
I mean, that's what it is.
So. Yeah, and I know. I mean, the comments every time, you look on every time the Disney or something posts about this, and the comments on this show of like the amount of hate that this show gets, and I can see why in some ways. But I'll be honest, it's pure like reality TV. That I mean, I've been watching Married at First Sight every night with my wife after, so we enjoyed. But this is the kind of stuff again. Much like with Best at Dough, Strictly Come Dancing, getting other content on here to watch that's away from, not everybody watch, you don't want to be watching Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings and Marvel. Not everybody watches them all the time. People move around and have different genres and stuff, and it's nice having a little bit of choice. So that's what I like about the Kardashians. It's a little bit of something else.
And it's also worth keeping in mind, like when you're doing something like Andor or Game of Thrones or something like that, you may want to be fully engaged with the show. You want to sit on the couch and you want to watch it. Whereas, Dancing with the Stars, Kardashians, any of these shows, you can be like, you know what, I'm just going to have it up over here while I'm doing some work and not feel bad about it, right?
Well, that's it. I mean, you can be on social media and stuff and flicking in and out, but also as well, and this is the difference of being a, married, we watch there's shows I like, and there's shows that she likes, and there's shows that we like together, and there's shows which I will tolerate and watch, and there's shows that she would tolerate and watch. That's just like, and then we all have these like different categories of like, well, I can sit through that. That's okay. I don't watch it, but I can sit through it. And then there's vice versa, compromise. And then there's other shows along the lines of, it's like I'm watching House of the Dragon. My wife said I'm not interested, so she watched the first episode, and I'm carrying on. Oh, she's doing the same with some other shows, and that's kind of. And that's where I like having things like the Kardashians and stuff like this, where we can watch together, and Disney needs to, and we're going to see this more and more from Disney, especially once they sort out the US Hulu side. You are going to see different choices, and it's not always about Marvel and Star Wars. And like I said, it's nice as having different kind of content.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, this past week we had another new episode of Welcome to Wrexham. Now, I did a little bit of a binge because I watched the first 5 episodes before it launched on a screener, and then this week I ended up binging like 3 episodes to completely, I think maybe 3 or 4 episodes.
I'm episode 9 now.
So I'm completely caught up on all 9 episodes. It's been fun. It's a nice look into like football, but very light-hearted. It's also, it doesn't take itself too seriously. It shows the problems of the football for local clubs. It was kind of funny because they were playing against my local team in the last episode. So it was like, so who do I really want to win? It's just like, not that I care one little bit. It was a little bit like, because my local team is in the same league as Wrexham, and it's like, not that I care. They could, as far as I'm concerned, they could probably better off taking down the football pitch and put a multi-story car park and make more money and be more useful. But that's my choice about football.
Y'all can direct your hate mail to Roger.
Dude, what's on Netflix?
Yes. What's on Netflix.com.
So shout out to Casey. So it's just this kind of thing of just like, it's I'm enjoying it. It's something again different. It just, I think like with this, welcome, Kardashians dancing, we're getting variety, and I'm liking this. I'm liking it's not everything's being. Because again, this is something I can put on while I'm working and just have it on the background.
Yeah, and again, although this is about the football club, the Wrexham Football Club, It's really not. It's about what this means to the community, why they have this instead of a car park, because as the car park may bring in more money, but this has like local influence. People are really engaged with it. It's part of their lives. It happens once a week, and
Yeah.
They get to be part of this
Yeah.
thing, and that's important for this community, especially since their town seems to be going
Yeah.
through a like, what is our future? Because a lot of their industry is closing down and so on. But also, you do see some of the backroom stuff. You see it particularly in this last episode, the two of them doing actual owner things. Like, we've got to decide on what the new shirt's going to look like. We've got to talk about promotions and what are our objectives, and okay, this needs to happen, and if this doesn't happen, these are going to be the consequences, and we're going to lose this amount of money, or we can gain this amount of money, and so on. So it's really covering the whole thing, and the soccer part of it actually only plays
It's
in at
very
the end.
Yeah. But this is what everything that involves sport, how it's caught me on so many different shows and movies. It's when they don't focus on the sport. It's about about what the sport means, what it means behind the scene, not just showing us like 20 minutes of football. And that's what, again, I said the same thing about Rise. If you'd said to me like, oh, you're going to enjoy I think it's going to be like 18 episodes, this full season about a football club. I am not the target audience, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, no, the best sports stories really actually aren't about the sports themselves. Even things like Rocky, yes, it's got some boxing scenes in it, and he triumphs or doesn't in the end. But the real story is about him coming from the place where he's starting at this very low point and building up. And that is the sports story thing. You can tell it with boxing, you can tell it with hockey, soccer, football, either American or international. The real story is the people, and that is what this documentary gets. The story is the people and what happens, but then the sport also does come into it because they have to win. They want to get promoted up to the next one. Otherwise, these two guys are looking going, we're going to lose how much money a year if we don't get up to the next level? And then watching the team just be like, yeah, we're not going to win. We're going to get a draw. We're going to lose. We're going to get a draw. And then
it's also like the locals and the supporters having to be realistic, but also sometimes letting their dreams getting carried away. Like they can't fix everything in just throwing money at it. You can't fix everything. It was a very, very, very good series. I'm enjoying it. Again, we might not talk about it again, but there's something I'm going to be watching weekly and stuff, because it doesn't really feel like we might check in when the show's finished.
That's what I was thinking, because we still have like 7 weeks to go. Something like that. It's like 16 episodes, I think.
Yeah, it's gonna be. It's a lot longer than I thought it was. I thought it was only going to be a short one, but it's turned into quite a big series. Moving on from there, we got Supernatural, a brand new 6-part documentary series from National Geographic. Dropped this past week. I only watched like 2 episodes. Again, it's just timing. There's just so much. There's just been so much out.
Both of us had to catch up basically on 2 weeks worth of shows because I don't know about you, but I did not watch any shows last week or 2 weeks ago.
Well, no, because that was the thing as well of like the time with jet lag and stuff. There was a couple of times in the afternoon I needed to like literally go have a nap because I was up stupidly early. So yeah, it took a bit of time to catch up on some stuff. And some other shows as well, from other networks that you kind of wanted to catch up. But yes, so Supernatural, I only watched a couple of them. Seems solid, looks beautiful. Benedict Cumberbatch's
narration.
He was all right. It didn't actually sound like him for a bit. It kind of, but it was. I thought it was okay. There was nothing. It was kind of one of those things. Going, there's nothing that's annoying me. It's not amazing, but it's solid. It's just a solid Nat Geo show. I was a bit like, it's good. But that was about. Do you know what I mean? It just it didn't blow me away. It didn't do anything to
It's not Planet Earth or Blue Planet or any of those, but it does have some amazing photography, especially when you look at some of the scales you're talking about, because they have scenes where it's literally a giraffe and ants. And like, okay, that's impressive by itself that you're able to get some great fidelity on both of those. But I learned things from this, which is ultimately the thing. And
Yeah.
at least the first episode had a heavy emphasis on the symbiosis between various animals, like working together and in interesting ways. It's like, that's pretty cool. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, see, I think I went for some of the water episodes because one of my dogs reacts a little bit less to the water, because she gets, if there's anything involving like wolves, I can't even put anything with wolves or dogs or cat or lions.
Yeah.
She just goes bonkers. So it's like, I'm gonna do some of the underwater stuff. So yeah, I watched a couple episodes. I enjoyed it. I'm gonna watch the other ones over time, but it was solid. It was a really, really enjoyable show. I felt a bit like this one got lost in the shuffle a bit, because I mean, I don't think I didn't get, I mean, just in general, it got lost. I think there's so much stuff coming out on Disney Plus this month. This one, to me, I was like, it came out and went, oh, I forgot this one. It was just like, oh.
I don't even really remember it being mentioned much at D23 either. All the emphasis was on Limitless with Chris Hemsworth, and then the Birdie show that I can't remember the name of it offhand. But you had an interview with him, so hopefully you remember it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this just kind of appeared, and I'm like, oh, right, that's a thing. Which is too bad, because I think it deserved better than that.
Oh, it's a really good show. Definitely. If you like National Geographic stuff, check that one out. It was a bit funny. We were watching Gogglebox, and Epic Adventures with Bertie Gregory came up on Gogglebox, and they were reacting to it. And my wife did go, because is that a bit weird for you? It's just like, because having it was kind of fun. But I'm glad the show was getting some mainstream attention here in the UK on Gogglebox. But that's good. Right, last quick thing as well. I watched Hocus Pocus 2 yesterday. That comes out on next Friday. Can't do a full review, because but I can basically say it's good. I enjoyed it. Kind of didn't necessarily feel like a rehash of the original. They kind of went in a few new places for it, which was good. I mean, the three witches, again, just steal the show. They just steal it. It's all about Jessica and Bette. They just have some great fun moments. It's not epic. It's not an epic big movie. It's kind of it's good. I mean, I don't have any nostalgia for the first film, so I'm not really like, I don't have 25, 30 years of nostalgia. I only watched the first movie recently, so therefore I don't have that thing for it. It was just like, it was just more of the witches. Wasn't so keen on the kids. That was the only thing. They were a bit generic, but I obviously we'll talk about it a bit more in a couple of weeks when you've seen it. But
yeah, I mean,
it's good. It's solid. It's a good, solid, fun Halloween movie, and that's what you want.
I mean, the kids were pretty generic in the first one too. The emphasis is definitely on the three witches, on the Sanderson sisters.
Yeah.
There's a reason all the merch is the sisters and maybe the cat. That's it.
Yeah, and they are great, and it is. I enjoyed it. It was fun, and like I said, I'm not a huge fan of I'm not a massive big fan of the original, but I enjoyed it, and that's the key thing. And if I enjoyed it, then I'm sure fans of the series, fans of the movie, are going to like it even more.
Sometimes that's a double-edged. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes you can go into something that has a huge fan base, like, I like that, and then the fan base is like, you can't like that. That is, it's an insult to the original, and everything in it is just, they didn't know. I mean, I've been guilty of doing that myself, but I haven't seen it. I can't say one way or another. But if Bette Midler and Sarah Jessica Parker and the others all have as much fun as they clearly had in the first movie, you can just see how much fun they were loving their roles. And if they bring that energy to the second one, I think it'll be good. So it sounds like it'll be good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. So it's a good fun one. So that'll be dropping next Friday on the 30th. Well, on that note, guys, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back next week with I'm going to be doing an episode with Mo where we talk about all kinds of stuff with terms of like streaming as a whole. And then we'll be back in 2 weeks' time with our normal podcast schedule and stuff. But on that note, guys, thank you very much. See you guys soon. Latest.
Bye.
Thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure you go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Like, follow, and subscribe. Also, a huge thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and also on our YouTube channel memberships. And I shall see you guys in another video. Laters.